Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are unpacking a seriously fascinating concept, the 5 a.m. philosophy. And look, we aren't just going to look at some fluffy motivational quotes today. No, we're going to explore the hard biology, the neuroscience, and the incredibly practical frameworks of truly owning your morning. We are going to see exactly how mastering that very first hour of your day can literally shift your entire life from a state of constant stressful chaos to one of absolute total control. Have you ever looked at highly successful people and just wondered why they seem to move through life with unbelievable clarity, focus, and calm? I mean, it's almost as if they're operating on a completely different frequency than the rest of us. Well, the truth we found in the source material is incredibly simple, and honestly, it might surprise you. This kind of intense clarity, it isn't about luck. It's not some hidden talent you have to be born with, and it's definitely not just because they grind and work harder than everyone else. It almost always comes down to a single, deliberate decision. The decision to start their day before the rest of the world even wakes up. Because let's be real, for most of us, a standard morning is just pure chaos. The alarm rings, we immediately smash the snooze button, we grab our phones to doom scroll, we rush around to get ready, and we're essentially just reacting to whatever fire is burning first. We stumble into a day that already feels like it's completely slipping through our fingers. But contrast that with a 5 a.m. start. A 5 a.m. start offers absolute silence, a brilliantly clear mind, and totally untouched energy. This philosophy requires a fundamental shift in how we approach our lives. We have to stop constantly reacting to the day and instead start actively creating it. So here is our roadmap for the Explainer today. We'll start with number 1, from reacting to creating. Number 2, the science of sunrise. 3, the victory hour formula. 4, the 4 interior empires. 5, the 66-day habit model. And finally, 6, the ultimate transformation. Let's kick things off with section 1, from reacting to creating, reclaiming stolen hours. Look, waking at 5 a.m. is ultimately about fiercely protecting the purest, most valuable part of your day from the noise, the notifications, and the endless demands of everyone else. By waking up before the sun, you are reclaiming a sacred window of time. And this brilliantly illustrates why early rising sticks for high performers, but fails for so many others. It all comes down to identity. Motivation is just a feeling, right? And feelings inevitably fade. But identity stays. When you consistently win that first hour of the day, you create this powerful ripple effect of mental resilience that compounds over time. Waking up early becomes a daily physical declaration. It's telling your brain, I choose to lead my life, not follow it. It fundamentally shifts how you view yourself. You go from being a passive participant to the active creator of your own destiny. Which brings us to section 2, the science of sunrise and the neurological advantage. Now, when we look at the brain's actual hardware, things get really fascinating. Your prefrontal cortex is the region responsible for complex decision-making, strategic planning, and self-control. And later in the day, this exact area gets completely overloaded with stress, multitasking, and decision fatigue. But at 5 a.m., it is at its absolute quietest. It's fully rested and completely uninterrupted. The silence of dawn literally allows your brain's decision-making center to focus deeply and process complex ideas, totally free from that intense mental friction you feel in the middle of the afternoon. Because at 5 a.m., you're actually getting an incredibly powerful biological cocktail. Early waking naturally triggers a surge of dopamine, which essentially acts as a massive motivation booster. On top of that, your serotonin levels increase, drastically improving your emotional balance and a sense of calm. You also experience this healthy, natural peak of cortisol that perfectly aligns with your biological clock, which, by the way, is exactly why waking up naturally early feels so much better than waking up completely out of sync and groggy. Plus, your brain actually enters a light alpha state. That's an electrical frequency that sparks highly imaginative problem solving. Honestly, it is a massive cognitive advantage that most people are simply sleeping right through. All right, moving into section 3. The Victory Hour Formula, the 20-20-20 Blueprint. Now, this 60-minute routine, it's the beating heart of the whole philosophy. It acts as a profound psychological reset button for the remaining 23 hours of your day. Because think about it, waking up early means absolutely nothing if you just use that quiet time to lay in bed and scroll on social media, right? Instead, the victory hour is split perfectly into 3 equal 20-minute segments: move, reflect, and grow. The structure is beautifully balanced because it makes sure you are hitting the 3 absolute core domains of human excellence: the physical, the emotional, and the intellectual. And you're getting all of this done before the sun even fully rises. Let's walk through this triad step by step. Step 1 is move. You literally need to sweat. Just 20 minutes of intense physical activity spikes your heart rate and releases BDNF, that's brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which literally repairs and upgrades your neural connections. Then, step 2 is reflect. Take the next 20 minutes to journal, pray, or meditate. In our incredibly noisy modern world, this dedicated quiet reflection builds profound emotional intelligence, and it acts as mental armor against whatever stress the day is going to throw at you. And finally, step 3 is grow. Spend those last 20 minutes reading or studying. While the rest of the world is still asleep, you are aggressively expanding your perspective. This continuous learning is absolutely the ultimate fuel for lifelong ambition. Which leads nicely into section 4, the 4 interior empires, going beyond just mindset. So we've all heard the cliche that mindset is everything, right? But true balance requires upgrading the entire architecture of who you are, which actually breaks our inner world down into 4 distinct, interconnected empires. Yes, we have mindset, which is mapped to our psychology, but equally important, we have heart set for emotion, health set for physicality, and soul set for spirituality. And the foundational secret here is how heavily these 4 empires rely on each other. You literally cannot sustain high performance, and you certainly won't prevent burnout if you are only hyper-focused on your psychological goals while entirely ignoring your emotional, physical, and spiritual health. Because think about it. Mindset without heart set, that's just cold, calculative intellect. Health set without soul set, that's purely mechanical living. You're just going through the motions. The sources point out that if your emotional world is heavily cluttered with unresolved stress, or if you completely lack a deeper connection to your ultimate purpose, you are eventually going to sabotage your own progress. True power, the kind of real, tangible success that actually lasts a lifetime, always comes from aligning all 4 of these empires. The whole thing is built entirely from the inside out. Next up, section 5, the 66-day habit model. Our blueprint for consistency. Look, loving the idea of 5 a.m. is easy, but making it actually stick requires understanding the hard biology of habit formation, because it is never a straight line to success. The first 22 days, that's the destruction phase. It is messy, it is deeply uncomfortable, and your brain is absolutely going to fight you, because you are literally dismantling old, lazy routines. If you feel pain here, please know it's not a personal failure and it's not a lack of willpower. It's just the necessary destruction of old patterns. Then, days 23 to 44 are the installation phase. Your brain is actively rewiring its neural pathways. It's challenging, and you're kind of going to feel caught between 2 worlds, but you're building massive resilience. And finally, days 45 to 66 are integration. This is where the new habit finally becomes automatic and totally effortless. It stops being something you just do, and it starts being a core part of who you are. So the absolutely crucial point is captured right here. Success doesn't come from short bursts of intense motivation. It comes from relentless consistency. You have to show up, especially on those messy days when your mind is just screaming at you to hit the snooze button and go back to sleep. The core lesson of this entire 66-day journey is that discipline is a trained, practiced skill. It is absolutely not an innate personality trait that you're just magically born with or without. And finally, section 6, the ultimate transformation, designing the tight bubble of total focus. The source material highlights something incredibly important right here. Quote, "Extraordinary results don't come from doing more, they come from deep, distraction-free focus." Think about that for a second. We live in a society that is completely obsessed with multitasking and just generally being busy. But creating a mental fortress that entirely protects your mornings from the endless notifications, the emails, and the trivial demands of everyone else, that is your true modern superpower. It's not about being busier, it's about being profoundly, unbreakably focused. So how do we actually build this protective bubble? Well, First, you must fiercely guard your peak energy windows. Those early morning hours, they are absolutely sacred. Second, establish strict boundaries. That means absolutely no social media or email before you've completed your victory hour. None. Third, design a minimal, clean environment because a visually cluttered physical space will immediately create a cluttered mind. And finally, you have to rigorously limit trivial task switching. Every single time your brain switches from a deep, meaningful task to check a random text message, you instantly drain your momentum and your mental clarity. This whole process, it ultimately leads to a profound identity shift. You stop being a follower of life, someone who's constantly drifting, always waiting around for a magical burst of motivation, simply trying to survive the daily noise. Instead, you become a leader of life, someone deliberately directing their path, designing their days, and most importantly, consistently keeping promises to themselves. The real victory of waking up at 5 a.m. is entirely internal. It profoundly transforms you into someone who naturally sees challenges as opportunities to grow, rather than just stressful obstacles in your way. Which brings us to a pretty provocative question to end on today. What kind of life will you choose to design tomorrow morning? The power to change your trajectory, it isn't hidden away somewhere. It is entirely in your hands, just waiting for you in those quiet, untouched hours before dawn. So set that alarm, protect your focus, and start building your extraordinary life. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it brought you some incredible clarity, and I'll catch you next time.